This is the Vic Feazell Show podcast, hosted by Vic Feazell and Jonathan Zimick, sponsored by Moroso Wood-Fired Pizzeria and Pinewood Coffee Roasters.
Well, good afternoon, Vic.
Hey, Jonathan. It's great to be back. Man,
Great to be back in the saddle.
Last week was busy, man.
You were busy.
I was so busy. I was in court a lot. Wednesday, I had to go down to the Waco-McLennan County grand jury, represent two witnesses in front of that. And then Friday, I was in court all day Friday from 9:30 until nearly 6 in the evening.
Kicking butt.
Yeah, down in Georgetown. Yeah, that was an interesting case. Enjoyed that a lot. The grand jury thing came as a real surprise, though. I was totally shocked. I get a call from my clients Tuesday night that they had just been subpoenaed at 7 p.m. to be in front of the grand jury at 9 o'clock the next morning.
That's wild. Why,
Isn't it?
Why would they do it so late?
I'm still trying to figure that out because we don't even have a trial date. There was no emergency here. We're just not going to plead this guy guilty. I've told him we're not going to plead him guilty to something he didn't do.
Right.
We gave him the witnesses that could exonerate him. And what do? They go and punish those witnesses. They harass them. They do retaliation against my witnesses, man. But all I'm asking them to do is, hey, look at the facts. Just look at the facts here. Instead of bringing these two sweet ladies in, not criminals, just witnesses.
Yeah.
And harassing them for half the morning.
That's not
and
fair.
making them miss work, making them hustle around for childcare. Now, if we had had a trial date for the following week, I could understand. Yeah, you want to know what they're going to say. But they're stepping in it on this case, I'm telling you.
That's wild that they would pull that.
I know. I wish I had a trial date. I'm ready to try this case. I wish I could try it next week.
Look at
I
you.
really do. I mean, I'm ready to go. But they're just dragging this man through the dirt, costing him every dime he's got. He's already had a couple of his vehicles repossessed because of having to pay bond and having to pay for all these court hearings and stuff. And I'm to the point now where I'm doing most of it pro bono. You know, I got the Pro Bono Advocates Award from Baylor University last year.
You did.
I did, for doing so much pro bono work. It's sitting in our conference room on a shelf in there, real pretty. Stephen Rispoli, head of the pro bono program for Baylor Law School, presented it to me. It was a really nice ceremony. And another young lawyer, I think she's in Hewitt, Texas, she got one as well for doing so many hours.
Cool.
But I was the only old guy that got one. This is a young lawyer's award, but they gave it to the old guy. So that was really sweet of them, and I appreciate it. But I'm doing pro bono work on this case because I just hate injustice, Jonathan.
Oh, I know you do.
I hate injustice. And this past week, besides being in court, you and I went to Austin.
We did, and it was a cool trip, sir.
It was about injustice. It was about trying to get justice.
It's about the worst.
Yeah.
About the worst injustice there could be.
Yes, convicting people, wrongfully convicting people and sending them to prison. We were down there for the Voices of Justice fundraiser for Proclaim Justice Foundation, correct?
That's right.
Hey, I said it right, man.
You did.
That's a mouthful. The Dixie Chicks performed.
They did.
They were fun. I hadn't seen them in a long time.
True.
And we were sitting at reserved table number one.
Number one. We were invited by Mr. Jason Baldwin, who will be in our studio mañana.
Yeah, we won't play it until next week. But Jason Baldwin, he's one of the West Memphis 3.
Yes. And he's one of the founders of Proclaim Justice.
One of the founders. They do wonderful work. We're going to talk about that some more in a minute.
True.
Yeah. But
it was a cool event, though. It was a
cool
awesome
event.
Dinner. It was down at the ACL Moody Theater, where they do the ACL tapings. Yeah. Great sounding room, cool music. Dixie Chicks. Gary Clark Jr. was there, and it was fun.
He was all right. Yeah, I liked him. I like you better. I mean, you're a hell of a musician, man.
Hey, you know.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you're up there with George Harrison and Eric Clapton.
I mean, well, I like both of them.
I know, and you play like they do. You even have guitars like they do.
That's true.
Yeah, so... Yeah, I've been to so many of your gigs. I love your guitar.
Well, remember we used to come out to the Central Market gigs when we played in Austin.
I did.
At the Central Market grocery store.
Yeah, and even when Antone's was at its original place.
Yes.
I knew Clifford Antone. He was a friend of mine.
Man, rest in peace, Clifford.
Rest in peace. Those days are gone. The Austin music scene is drying up and going the way of corporate USA like everything else.
It's very true. All the good musicians can't afford to live there anymore.
Can't afford it, and all the good bars like Antone's can't afford the rent.
Yeah,
they're having to move to Waco and San Marcos. And hey, come to Waco. We got a booming music scene in Waco. All you Austin musicians, quit fighting that traffic. Do like Vic Feazell. Pack up your bags and move to Waco. Get some cheaper rent and start entertaining the people up here.
That's true.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Come on up. We'll have a good time.
Hey, man, it is definitely way cheaper to live here.
It is. That's I still love Austin. I grew up in Austin. I love that town. But
it's changed.
It's changed. It's changed. Yeah.
That's the best way to put it without going deeper.
Yeah.
Oh, God. But it was fun, Vic. It was a fun event. And I learned a lot personally. Basically Proclaim Justice is a all-in-one, one-stop shop for people who are wrongly convicted and incarcerated. So they had two gentlemen who came out who Proclaim Justice actually helped get exonerated, Vic. Both of them were accused of pretty significant crimes and spent a lot of years in jail, man. And basically what they do is they submitted their cases to Proclaim Justice. Proclaim Justice reviews the case. And then they take it on, and they take it on in the form of paying for legal fees. They pay for DNA testing on any kind of evidence that may be there. They're a one-stop shop. And if you get exonerated, they even help you when you get out, which turns out it's a pretty big issue.
It's a pretty big issue because reading about Jason Baldwin, when he got out, he was so young when he was convicted, wrongfully convicted, that he had to learn to drive when he got out.
Yeah, because he was only 16. 16 years old when
he had to learn to drive. Had never owned a suitcase.
Crazy.
And Damien had to learn to eat with a fork.
Right.
Because he was on death row. He wasn't allowed to have a fork. He had to eat with a spoon. So Damien had to learn to eat with a fork and knife.
Isn't that wild?
Wild.
God.
And he had to learn to walk again because everywhere he walked, he was in shackles.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't get to walk on death row unless you're in shackles.
Jeez.
I think it's dehumanizing. I think we need to get back to treating everybody like human beings regardless. And, if it means they spend the rest of their life in prison, so be it. But it shouldn't be cruel and unusual. You shouldn't be keeping them in postures that hurt their bodies or feeding them bad or not taking care of their medical care. This is the United States of America. We need to have a heart here. And I'm telling you, all these wrongful convictions, all these retaliatory grand jury meetings, all these indictments that shouldn't be coming down, it's not right. But I tell you, Jonathan, there are no laws going to change it. We have so many laws on the books now, we can't keep up with them. Yeah. Every time we get a new legislative session, there's a new rush to pass new knee-jerk laws that don't do anything except get lost on the books. And if they do anything, it hurts the consumer.
Right.
It hurts the criminal defendant, and it hurts the consumer. So the only way we're going to change it is by raising our consciousness. People need a moral compass. Yep. Come back to your moral compass.
Turn off the reality TV.
Come
back to the light.
Turn off the Kardashians and come back to the light. Sit and meditate. Get back to your prayer life. Get back to reading real literature instead of, little 30-second blips on Facebook that just make you crazy.
Which, and truthfully, may not even be true.
Oh, that stuff on Facebook? Oh, all that false news. Fake news. Fake news. It's one of the few things I agree with Donald Trump about is that it's all fake news. They're just trying to keep us in fear so that we don't really live. When the angels came to announce the birth of Christ to the shepherds, what was the first thing they said?
I don't know.
Fear not. Fear not. And I don't think they were just telling the shepherds, don't be afraid. Hey, we're a bunch of angels here, don't be afraid. I don't think they were saying that. I think they were giving the thumbnail version of the Christ message, fear not. Because when you have your moral compass, when you're in line with that moral compass, when you're in line with the universe, you don't have to be afraid.
I like that.
You don't have to. You can live by faith instead of by fear. Walk by faith and not by sight. That's what I think the Apostle Paul said. Walk by faith and not by sight. Now, I know I quote the Christian and Hebrew scriptures a lot because they're the ones I'm most familiar with.
Yeah.
But I've read Buddhism. I've read the Quran. I don't quote the Quran because I'm afraid of somebody accusing me of misquoting it, and those guys get real serious about that. But there's truth in all of it, and we need to get back to our original teachers, find our moral compass, and quit being mean to each other.
Yes.
Quit being mean to each other. We need to love one another, respect each other.
Cool, man.
Amen. Boy, don't get me wound up. You put me on my soapbox, and I'm a prophet crying in the wilderness, man. We got to turn this world around before it's too late.
I agree with you on that, Vic. I really do. And Proclaim Justice is doing that.
They are. I'm
really
so proud of them, and I'm so proud to have been with Jason Baldwin that night. He's just like one of the sweetest guys I ever met.
Yeah, he really is. He's an incredibly kind man.
And my heart goes out to him, too, because I Google the West Memphis 3, and you'll see on Google where they've got these nuts that have just taken over that are just spewing lies and falsehoods about how these boys were really guilty, and they weren't.
I know.
There's not a shred of evidence, not a shred of evidence. All they've got is bad police work, bad prosecution work, closed minds, black hearts, narrow-minded, mean-spirited, and no compassion. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
We got to get back to our moral compass, if we've ever had it in the first place. You know, all the red hats about Make America Great Again. Yeah. I'm not sure we've ever been great. It's time we became great.
Well, it's like an attorney. We're practicing.
We're practicing. In America, we've done some great things. But in order to be really great, we need a moral compass that we don't get off of. Yeah. So that people want to be us instead of want to attack us.
And that starts with good leadership, Vic. You know, and I can tell you right now, we've actually got a couple emails sitting here from some people who emailed in. One of them came in today, you know, talking about the kind of leader that you are. Do you want me to read this thing?
Yeah, please. I haven't seen this one.
All right. This is from a Justin. And Justin says, Dear Mr. Feazell, I hope you don't mind my message, but after recently watching the Netflix series about Henry Lee Lucas and seeing your story unfold, I felt compelled to send a message congratulating you on your strength of character, not just in what you stood for within the justice system of your country and state, but also the face of extreme adversity. True. I am a simple man without much higher learning or good grades at school, but that's never bothered me as long as I remain true to myself and those I cared about, and seeing it in others has always made me proud to be a part of the human race when there are so many that will take the easy path to either fame, riches, or personal gain, often stepping on another to get there. Your trials and tribulations are something that brought a smile to my face, and a smile to my face in troubling times, and I thank you for that. I gain nothing by messaging you, but it pleases me to see such strength in people, and I hope my simple message is able to give you what you gave me, and that is a reason to smile. I wish you the best.
Wow, Justin. Thank you. Justin Horrocks, is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Justin, and God bless you for sending us that. And never apologize for being a simple man with a simple message. I mean, that's right. What we all ought to be.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Leonard Skinner?
Be a simple man?
Yeah. Yes. My mama told me. Yeah. That's one of my favorite songs. That's good advice. Live a simple life. Be a simple man. Gandhi said, live simply so that others can simply live.
I like it.
Thank you for that, Justin. We appreciate you.
But that's good leadership, though, Vic. Talking about what we should look up to and aspire to be, you know, and you influence someone like that, and people like, you know, Jason Baldwin influence that as well for people who were, you know, unfortunately Jason wasn't fully exonerated, but he's an incredible example of what you can do when you get out and how to try to reverse these wrongs in our justice system.
Right. And Jason should have been fully exonerated.
Yes.
It was just totally dip. what they did, what the government did to those young men.
And he said they're still working on it.
Well,
still working on it.
I hope so. I hope so. But once it gets that far down, it's really hard to pull it back up out of the hole. And I'm telling you, I was looking at that guy right in his eyes when in West Memphis 3.
Yeah.
West of Memphis, the Peter Jackson
Yes.
documentary.
Yes.
The later prosecutor who worked out the offered plea, and he was saying, and I still believe they're guilty. And no, man, no, he was totally lying. You could see it in his face.
Yeah.
Everything about him was screaming liar to me. You know, come on, guys, quit trying to save face, and just put on an honest face.
What do you say? Go puppy belly up when you're wrong?
Yeah, go puppy belly up, wag your tail, and pee all over yourself. People appreciate that. Just be a sweet little puppy and say, I'm sorry, and try to change your way and don't do it again.
Yeah.
You know, my mission is just to try to get people back to their moral compass, try to get people to do what's right, not what's easy.
Well, hopefully this podcast is a nice, healthy, gummy vitamin
I hope so.
to help that.
I hope so. It helps me. It makes me feel better because at least I feel like I'm doing something
Right.
instead of just sitting at home, you know. And I really like helping people. I really do. People who have been injured in car wrecks and they're fighting some bully insurance company, or people who have been wrongfully indicted, wrongfully arrested. And I'm having to get an assistant DA just to sit down and look at the facts.
Yeah.
You know, if I get one that's truly guilty, I'll work out the best deal I can and plead him. But if there's one that tells me he's not guilty and I honestly believe it and the facts show it, I can't walk in there and plead him guilty just because some assistant DA is going to be mad at me if I don't.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know? And it's not fair to punish some guy, you know, and cost him their livelihood, cost him their time, cost them time away from work, make them show up every month for some stupid reporting at court where all they do is check you off a list.
Wow.
I mean, come on. I remember when we used to let the lawyer come in and do that. They'd have to show up every few months or at least talk to their bondsman so that you'd know they were still around. But when these trials aren't getting set for a year, 2 years, sometimes 3 years,
Whoa.
and this cloud is hanging over people's heads, and our jails are full, and they're going to go and let remember the Baylor rapist, the frat boy rapist?
I do.
They let off with a slap on the wrist.
I do.
You know, and this poor girl, he had left her passed out in her own vomit. They removed grass clippings from her vagina.
Yeah.
I mean, she was left in bad shape, aspirating on her own vomit, and they wouldn't do anything with that case?
Nope.
With the witnesses they had and the evidence they had? And now on these little dippy nothing cases, they want to ruin somebody's life? Don't you have anything better to do? Don't you have a conscience?
Really?
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 I mean, I don't want to run for DA, but boy, I would pay somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
I would. I'd contribute.
This is where our taxpayers' money is going, is these frivolous cases.
It's awful. It's just awful. We need to wake up and get back to common sense. One of my favorite spiritual authors is Anthony DeMello.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I turned you on to Anthony DeMello about 15 years ago.
That's true. The book Awareness.
Awareness.
That is a recommended read for all listeners.
I've probably given away 500 copies of that book. And his whole message is wake up, wake up. We're sleepwalking. Wake up.
It's a great book.
Yeah,
I agree.
it's a great
so
book.
good. It's so good.
Well, I'm sure excited about having Jason Baldwin on next week. We're going to be taking him over to Moroso Wood-Fired Pizzeria.
Yeah, get him loosened up with a little
Get
pizza
him
pie.
loosened up with some pizza. Dan's going to be waiting for us. We're not going to say what day because we don't need an audience, but we got a little table hidden in the back, and Dan's going to take care of us. And we're going to introduce Jason to Moroso Wood-Fired Pizzeria.
I love it.
They don't get food like that in prison. No, he'll
Can't
be
imagine
happy.
they do.
He'll be happy with that. Yeah. How long has Jason been out now?
So they got out in 2011.
In 11. So he's only been out about 9 years.
That's correct.
He's still in re-entry mode.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed being with him the other night.
Super, super kind guy. And I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit from him about the case, and also just to hear him talk about proclaimed justice and what he's doing now further exonerate people. Because at the event, Vic, I think they said, what was it, like 3 to 5% of people incarcerated have been wrongly convicted of the crimes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot. I don't know where they get that estimate from. It could be more, it could be less. That's just somebody just crunching numbers
Throw
and doing
some
their
numbers
best
out there.
guess. Yeah. Hey, you know who I got to talk to there? Well, because you took a picture of us talking.
I do.
I really enjoyed meeting her. Laura, how do you say her last name? Nyrider?
Yeah.
Nirider.
Yes.
She was the appellate lawyer in Making a Murderer.
Yeah, for Dassey.
Is that who she's for?
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't
Brandon
remember
Dassey.
which one she represented.
Yep.
But I remember watching her do her argument and all that. And, I got to give a shout out to Laura here because most people, they look better on TV, because the makeup's put on and all that kind of stuff. But she looked better in real life. She really did. And she was really sweet and fun to talk to. And if you want to see a picture of me and her together, go to either vicfeazell.com or go to one of our Instagram feeds.
Yes, it's on our podcast Instagram feed and your personal Instagram feed.
Yeah, well, there you go. There we are together. And also some good pictures of me and Jason together. And a couple good ones of you. We even got a couple good ones of you.
I'm in there somewhere.
In
The mix. So, do you want to talk a little bit about the West Memphis case then, Vic, to kind of warm up the audience as to what that case is about?
Yes, I do. Why don't you fill us in some, Jonathan?
Sure. So, the West Memphis case is from June of 1993. So, West Memphis is a town in eastern Arkansas right before you hit the Tennessee border. And this is where 3 children were murdered. They were found in the stream hogtied and nude with their own sneaker laces. And there was, unfortunately, 3 kids who were pinned with the murder, one of them being Jason Baldwin.
And these little children that were murdered were only 8 years old. Just little kids.
Yes. So it was Jason Baldwin, Damian Eccles, and Jesse Miss Kelly were the 3 who were pinned with it. And, it was one of those cases where right from the get-go, it's very similar to Making a Murderer, Vic, where they knew who they wanted to do it, and they went right after them to begin with, and that was Mr. Damian Eccles. And they claimed that these 3 were into witchcraft and satanic rituals and all sorts of stuff, and basically it's railroaded these guys. And you have a case where you have someone who wasn't fully mentally competent, who they coerced, or
Jesse
Miss Kelly,
Jesse,
into giving these crazed out confessions, and none of them were ever consistent. And it's a case to where you just look at it and you go, "Ooh, what?"
Yeah, Jesse's confession reminded me of some of the Henry Lucas confessions, where he was guessing at it until he got it right.
Right.
And he didn't have the fortitude and the backbone to stand up to him because, his IQ was low.
Yeah,
and they always pick on the one with the low IQ.
Always.
You remember when They See Us?
That too.
They went after the one with the low IQ and then bootstrapped everything else on that confession, using the prisoner's dilemma. You're going to plead guilty first and tell us everything. We'll go easier on you. And whichever one goes first, that's who we're going to go easy on. So you got 3 or 4 people, and they're all in different rooms and going, oh, what's happening on the other? What's happening out there? What are they saying?
Right.
And then they come in and say, well, your buddy just told us you did it. And you're sitting there and you had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And it just really messes with your head.
Jeez. And they interviewed Mr. Miss Kelly. I forgot how many hours, but it was so many hours, Vic. And then it turns out they only videotaped like 2 hours of this, like 12 to 15 hour, interview with them. It's just, it's like this blend of that mixed with so When They See Us mixed with Making a Murderer, mixed with Henry Lee Lucas, all these terrible tactics combined into one made this case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a shame because it took till 2011, Vic, for enough support to get behind to where these guys were offered an Alfred plea to get out.
Fortunately, when they were trying to make their false case on me, when they were trying to frame me, they were dealing with people who had decent IQs, who were able to lay some traps for them for the courtroom,
right?
And didn't, and gave them information that just didn't add up all the way.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not going to call the guys names. Most of them are dead now anyway. Yeah, but my heart goes out to them because they were twisted like that too. Like Gary Richardson used to say, hold a fish out of water long enough and it'll say anything you want it to. Well, that's what they did to Mr. and Miss Kelly here.
Right.
And that's what they did to the young guy in When They See Us.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they did to the fella in Making a Murderer.
Right.
That Laura represented.
Right.
You know?
Brandon Dassey.
Yeah.
It's wild, man.
It's ego. It's nothing but ego, and it's wrong. I mean, we should be convicting criminals, not convicting innocent people.
I agree.
And we got to get our egos out of it. We got to get our egos out of it and look at the facts and look at what will a jury do, you know, and look at presenting it fair and honestly, not lying.
Yeah.
And these policemen who lie in these confessions and who do these things, they should be stripped of their immunity. They've got governmental immunity right now. We still live in a time left over from the Middle Ages where the king can do no wrong.
Right.
You have to get permission to sue the government, and then if you sue them, you got caps on you.
Yeah.
You know, the king can do no wrong. Well, we got to get away from that. The king does do wrong, and when the king does wrong, the king needs to be held responsible.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Fully agree with that. So these guys didn't get out, like I said, till 2011, and even then they got out based on two factors. One was the fact that DNA evidence had come into play, and there was no DNA evidence linking them to the crime whatsoever. And there was somebody that was linked to it, but we'll talk about that a little later on when we have Jason in. And then the second factor was jury misconduct. So ultimately, I think they're going to be given new trials, or there certain hearings were supposed to take place, but instead they were offered the Alfred pleas. At which point, you know, Jason kind of jumped on a grenade for his friend Damien.
Yeah, because Damien was on death row.
And he was in very poor health.
Very poor health, being treated awful in prison because those guards don't take care of you. If they think you're in there for a bad crime, they think it's their part of their responsibility to either punish you themselves or let the other inmates punish you.
Right.
And that's not right. That's not our system. That's not what this country is based on.
Right.
You know? I'm concerned about the future of our country if we do not have a spiritual awakening.
Well, Vic, how do you feel about privatized prisons?
Oh, I hate that. Prisons for profit?
Yes.
I hate that. That's heads on beds. They want to put as many heads on pillows in there as they can to keep those profits rolling in.
Isn't that madness?
Rolling.
Well, how about that judge? Remember he got hit with the cash for kids.
Cash for kids,
Remember
I
that
do.
one? Wow.
Locking all those little kids up that didn't need to be locked up because he was getting paid on the side.
Yeah, from the judge, or from the jail. Crazy, man.
I don't think judges should be allowed to be involved in businesses where their decisions profit them. Whether it's being involved in private prisons, being involved in ankle monitors, being involved in breathalyzers on cars, all that stuff that costs people money, or being involved in some of these ridiculous classes they make people take. I mean, you can be indicted for a crime, get probation, and they're going to set it up so you can't make probation. You're having to miss so much work going to family violence classes, alcohol abuse classes, drug abuse classes. They arrest some kid with pot. They're going to make him spend $50 a month or somewhere around there going to drug abuse classes, which is ridiculous. Taking money out of somebody's pocket that they need for rent, for groceries, for their education, for transportation. And if they miss one of those classes, then they're getting revoked.
Right?
Getting revoked and sent to the pen. You're getting a final conviction then. And then the next time you're in trouble, they get to use that conviction against you and enhance your punishment. I'm telling you, once the government gets their claws into your back, they don't let go.
Yeah.
We got to do something, folks, to get the government's claws out of our backs. The government has no business in our bedrooms. They have no business in our medicine cabinets, and they have no business sending innocent people to prison. If you got a doubt, don't do it.
Right. And here's my question to you, Vic. You know, we talk about the deep state a lot. In our last episode, you really went through and defined what the deep state is. And you can't help but think this is the deep state at work. This is a few select amount of people who are making these decisions. And everybody else is just falling in line with them.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's deep state, like you see on TV with the big rich guys in the back making all the decisions,
This big cigars.
and sometimes it's just runaway bureaucracy.
Yeah.
People with no conscience. They hate their jobs. They hate you for showing up and making them do their jobs, and they're going to punish you just for being there.
Jeez.
I remember that play. I mean, I've seen it probably 10 or 11 times. Tuna, Texas.
I've never heard of that.
Oh,
one.
it was so wonderful. It was a live play. They used to do it a couple times a year in Austin.
Tune of Texas.
Tuna, Tuna, is about
Tuna,
a town named
Texas?
Tuna.
What?
Tuna out in West Texas. Tuna, Texas. Yeah, there were three or four of those plays, and they were just wonderful. But there's a line in one of them I loved. Don't just sit there like a government employee. Do something.
There you go.
Yeah.
God. Tuna, Texas.
Tuna, Texas. They had it at the Paramount at least twice a year in Austin, Texas. And those of you who've been to Austin for South by Southwest or F1 or anything else like that, you know about the Paramount. It's the old historic theater in town, kind of like the Hippodrome is here.
Right. It's a good spot.
Good
A
spot.
lot of good comedians roll there. Good bands roll through there.
Yeah, and I love the Paramount. And the state next door, I used to take acting lessons at the state
Yeah, the
next
state's
door.
sad.
Yeah. And I love the Hippodrome here. They have a lot of good programs.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Gotta love those historical. They don't build them like they used to.
They don't. They don't. And a lot of people don't care for Chip and Joanna here in Waco. They think they've made our taxes go up and all that, but I think they've raised our standard of living as well. I like them.
I agree.
I like the fact that they're bringing tourists to town. I like the new restaurants that are popping up. I like the new hotels that are popping up. Waco is changing. This ain't your daddy's Waco. It's not. Come up here. Come on up.
They just built a pho or pho for those who ever want to do it. Spot right next to the office, your little Vietnamese joint. We're going to have to go get some of that.
Really?
Pho noodle soup.
Hey, I hadn't seen that yet. Let's go do that. I like that stuff.
Yes, please.
Yes.
So, anywho, Vic, can't wait to have Jason in. It's going to be awesome. His event was super cool. I'm really, really quite happy for him, and I congratulate them for the wonderful job that they did because it was an amazing experience.
It was an amazing event. We were able to go to the pre-party.
Yes.
Now, if you see the picture of me and Laura together and she's got her arms crossed, it's not because she's being defensive. I was quite the gentleman. It's because it was cold out there, man.
Yeah, we were out on the porch.
We were out on the patio. Yeah.
It was cool.
It was
neat.
great.
It was great that they had two exonerees there that came up and actually talked on stage
On
to
stage,
us
yeah.
about how Proclaim Justice helped them and whatnot. Just a really cool event, really heartwarming.
I remember somebody got the bid for one of those signed guitars. Yeah. It was like $20,000 they paid for that guitar out of my budget.
That auction. There was some good stuff though, man.
There was some good stuff.
They gave away it was a Gibson Hummingbird guitar, and I mean that was well worth the price. I think it's gorgeous. Only two of this type had ever been made. I was like, oh, that's nice.
Well, when that $20,000 bid came in for that guitar,
Yeah.
Jason leaned over and whispered into my ear and said, "That will pay for one appellate transcript."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's expensive.
It
is so expensive.
It is. And that's actually one thing that was brought up. Remember, someone had asked that, like, what did it cost one of the exonerees, or what did he think it cost to get him exonerated up to current, like what his legal fees, everything was to get him to where he was, how much money had to go into his case. And they ballparked about $1 million to get someone out.
I'm not surprised.
When it's just the ego of a couple prosecutors that got the guy in.
I know.
It's crazy.
And it's the ego of the prosecutor that's keeping them in because they can't admit they were wrong. I'm proud of people who are willing to admit they were wrong in light of new information.
Of course.
People say, well, I'm not going to flip-flop. I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not going to change horses in midstream. That's just dumb.
That's
just dumb. When you're confronted with new information, you're supposed to change course.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just being stupid.
Yeah.
You're being stupid, and you're gonna put your ship right into the rocks.
Yeah. I agree with you, man.
Yeah.
So, they're doing good work.
Doing good work.
Doing good work.
Well, I'm still waiting on my golden gavel.
The Golden Gavel
They,
Award
they
you got in
said they
Florida?
would mail it to me. I got an email from them last week that said they were mailing it, but I haven't got it yet. It will be proudly displayed with our other stuff in the conference room.
It's pretty cool looking, actually.
It's heavy,
I was about
too.
to say, is it actually made of metal?
Yes, it is. It's metal. It's golden. It's a gavel, and it's in a wooden box with a glass top.
Cool, man.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of neat. So that was presented by the National Trial Lawyers Summit that I just got back from. That was really cool.
Well,
I
that cool
enjoyed
trip that.
And I got a book in the mail.
What'd you get?
There it is. We had a fan send it to us.
What is it?
It's called. She was inspired to send this because of some of the things I've said on the podcast. Soul Experience, the fourth level of identity. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to put it on my stack, which makes it about 9 or 10 down. So that means I'll get to it by the end of the year.
Cool.
But it says Vic. Oh, and it's by a guy named Al Killeen, I think, Killeen.
Yeah.
Said, Vic, Al is a friend and mentor. I thought this might be right up your alley. My gift to you for giving my sis Colette and me a shout out on the podcast. Crystal Hendry. Remember when I gave Colette and Crystal the shout out?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
They're some of our best fans, them and also Cody and Sarah. I saw Cody. Remember we signed the
I do.
the poster for Sarah. Yeah. I saw her this weekend, and she's still listening to the podcast. So
Love it.
Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Sarah. And I actually got an email this weekend from a guy who had waited on me and my wife at the Lure in Miami Beach.
Oh, wow.
Across from the Lowe's Hotel, and I'd given him a podcast sticker.
Cool, man.
And he wrote me to tell me, hey, I watched the documentary.
Yeah.
I'm listening to your podcast, and I'm really liking it. And he recommended a documentary for me to watch that I'm going to watch. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's in his email.
Cool, dude.
So word spreading. We're getting new listeners all over the world.
Definitely all over the globe.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it, Vic.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Let's
move on to the next order of business.
Yes.
Check out this article I found here. This is police obtain warrant for Ancestry.com DNA database. So just running off the title of it, what a trip. You know, that they're finally tapping into this Ancestry.com database, which, frankly, it doesn't surprise me. All this DNA testing going on with 23andMe, Ancestry.com. You know, it was only a matter of time till, you know, some advantage would be taken from these databases of DNA material.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. It's probably going to be fought up through the courts for a bit. But, you know, if you put your trash in your trash can and put it out on the front, it's considered abandoned property.
Really?
Yeah, the police can just come pick it up and throw it in their trunk if they want to.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I saw that while they were trying to frame me. Me and John Ben Sutter both would be looking out our window, and a car would pull up. Two guys with suits would jump out and toss our trash into the trunk and drive off. Yeah.
Enjoy those dirty diapers.
Yeah, I know. So it just depends. Is this considered abandoned property? It's been given away. What kind of rights do you still have to it after you give it to Ancestry.com? I haven't given mine to Ancestry.com or to anybody else. Not because I'm concerned to.
You have 12 new kids.
No.
No.
No, I'm not concerned about anything like that, or about being tied to any crimes. But I don't know. I just haven't felt like
there's just something a little awkward about it, and I haven't done it either. There's just something kind of ooh.
There is. It's
especially when you read this.
It's kind of like taking a survey on Facebook. I don't know why people do that, because they're going after your private information, and you forget what you take 30 of those. No telling how much of your private information you've given. What was the name of your first pet? Oh, well, that just might be your password for something.
Right.
Where was your mother born? What was your mother's maiden name? You know.
Right.
And after a while, they've got everything about you. Everything.
Creepy.
Oh, have you gotten one of those emails yet that says, "I know you've been looking at porn"?
Everybody's gotten that email.
I know.
Everybody's gotten that.
I've got your password, and I'm going to spread it out to the world. Hey, people, don't believe that. That's BS, because I got one the other day, and I don't look at porn. I'm so far past all that. It's incredible.
Yep. And it's actually funny because when you told me that, I told you, I'm like, I had one of my friends hit me up like a month ago. It was like, yo, man, is this thing legitimate? What is this thing? I don't look at porn, man. Why am I getting this thing? It's one of my old passwords. And what it is when you see these huge like credit card breaches or, you know, any number of breaches that can happen, and they get all these passwords and usernames, that's where they're getting that stuff from. Those people who are hacking and getting your email, and ultimately, those are the same people who send you those emails. Like, you've been looking at porn. It's like, well, how do they have one of my old passwords in that email? What's going on? Because that was the hacked info they got.
I'm so old that to me, porn still is a Sears catalog.
Good Lord.
Are you looking at the underwear section again? Put that down, Victor Fred.
Oh. That's sad. Well, this is an interesting article, though, Vic, because it turns out that they've obtained warrants multiple times to get this information from Ancestry. And it turns out Ancestry has actually released this information in the past. So in certain cases, they are actually working with, you know, whatever judicial department this may be, and they are giving out the info. So that's kind of a trip. You know, when you look at like the Salazar case where, you know, that case was solved by CODIS. You know, they had a CODIS hit. You know, can you imagine how many crimes would be solved if they were able to compare everything to an Ancestry.com account? Because, man, if my brother does this thing, of course I'm going to show up. You know, I mean, if you just link to a family member, you can be able to lock it down pretty quick.
Yeah. And frankly, I'm for solving murders.
Yeah, so am I.
I like the idea of privacy, but I'm also for solving murders and getting the real person. And DNA can help you get the real person.
Yeah.
You know?
It's hard to fight DNA, Vic.
In about a month, there's a cold case right here out of Waco that we're going to pull up in about a month that's got some interesting DNA twists to it. Yeah. And we're going to be talking about that. But I want to wait until March or April to talk about that one.
Sure. Well, I think it's a good thing. I totally agree with you about the privacy. But at the same time, if you can run some of these against a bunch of old cold cases, you know, old rape kits or just old evidence sitting in a locker for 30 years and you can get some hits, man, solve some crimes. I mean, that's awesome.
I can see how people wouldn't be happy about this, though, giving their DNA to Ancestry.com to see where they came from, who they're related to, how far they are from Kevin Bacon and all that.
How many degrees of separation.
And then have the police go and say, give it all to me. We want it all.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I agree with you. You shouldn't have to do it. 100% I agree with you on that.
And it's not just Ancestry. 23andMe has been hit with search warrants. They have about 10 million DNA profiles.
God.
That's 2 million more files than Colonel Jim Adams had on U.S. citizens when he was head of the domestic spy program for the FBI. Because he said they had about 8 million. So both companies have publicly vowed to defend their customers' genetic privacy and say they will fight efforts to open their databases to searches by police. Well, that's going to be up to the courts, and we'll see what the courts have to say about it.
Right. Well, and one thing, too, is the article says that investigative genetic genealogy is actually a new method that is being used to solve crimes.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I've got mixed feelings about it. I like the idea of privacy, but at the same time,
I also don't like the idea of murderers roaming around.
I don't either. And I would like to see more of this DNA into the hands of the proper authorities so that we can solve some more of these Henry Lee Lucas confessions that are still hanging out there. And so many cold cases and unsolved murders. Every county has a whole bank of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got them right here. I mean, I wish they'd be working on some of these murder cases instead of harassing innocent people, you know, for minor stuff, or arresting Baylor students for a little bit of weed and trying to ruin their careers, you know. Yeah. Something's wrong with that.
There's something wrong with that.
Yeah, something wrong with that. Now, if you're out there hurting somebody, if you're engaging in irresponsible behavior that can lead to somebody being hurt, say like drunk driving, sure, I'm totally against that.
Oh, absolutely.
But some of this other stuff is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. And don't get me on my soapbox about CPS. Now, children need to be protected.
Right.
But parents don't need to be threatened by their kids all the time, every time they send them to their room. Well, I'll just call CPS. I'll call 911. These little kids know how to do that. They've been educated by the police. I mean, by the TV. They've been educated by their friends, and a lot of them just are holding their parents hostage. Yeah. And it ain't right. It's just not right.
It's not right.
I mean, you better not spank a child anymore in this country, or you're in trouble. We live in a country where it's okay to abort a child, but you better not spank it.
Don't spank it on the way out.
Yeah.
God.
So there's something wrong here.
Well, cool, Vic. It's good to be back in the saddle.
Good to be back.
And look forward to having Jason in here soon.
Me too.
And we'll catch our listeners.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say what date, but you and I have a fun time coming up in the near future. Going to get your brother back in town and going to chow down on some Hellberg's barbecue.
Oh, man, that stuff is so good. That brisket is so thick. Oh, my God.
I saw one of their ads today where they were selling pork steaks.
What?
Yeah, like huge pork chops that they've barbecued. And I'm not much of a red meat eater, but I'm going to have to try one of those and then just repent later.
Repent.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm a 90% vegetarian, but when I go off the wagon, it's for something good.
Yeah. That place is good.
It's
God.
good. Waco's got some good places. Come on up here and check it out, folks. Buy some of these houses up here while they're still available. I think you took one of the last ones, Jonathan.
Well, one thing is when I was looking to move up here, I actually went and visited with two different builders, right? And they had sold every single house they had built and were going to have built in like the next 6 months. So they're sold out. You have to get a used one now.
People are moving here like crazy. It's partly because of Chip and Joanna, and who knows, it might be partly because of our podcast. We're getting so popular.
No traffic.
Yeah. Hey, Chip and Joanna, start bringing your tour bus by our office and pointing at it and saying, that's where Vic Feazell works. Right there. See, his name's on the building. He was on the Confession Killer.
Do they have those duck tours here?
I don't know. Like on the river, you mean?
Well, yeah, you know how they get those like
in Austin?
old like World War II era duck boats. Uh-huh. They drive through the city, then they go on the water.
Yeah. I've seen those in Austin. I don't know if they have them here.
I would say maybe that's the mark to say when Waco is considered a big city again. Is when Waco gets a duck boat tour, then it's on the map for being a bigger city.
Well, let's see.
So you got the duck boat tours. Oh, God. All right, that's all I got.
That's all I got.
Oh,
let's just love life, love each other.
And let's also love this last one, the coffee. Coffee's going on the website this week.
Matter of fact, we've already sent out a few pre-orders.
We have.
Yes.
So check vicfeazell.com, go to our store page, and buy some of this delicious brew.
Yeah. Whole beans or ground.
Yep, you get your choice.
Yeah.
I like the ground. Vic likes a whole bean. Hey.
Yeah. And MC Yogi likes a whole bean, so I'm in good company. Yeah. Google him. Google his music. Breathe deep, deep breath. Inhale, exhale to release the stress. Deep breath. Thank you for listening to the Vic Feazell Show podcast. We're a primary source podcast. We talk about people we've known, things we've experienced. We're a primary source podcast. For more information, visit vicfeazell.com. Leave us a comment or a review. Subscribe to our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages. And thank you for listening. Share us with your friends.
This is Texas singer-songwriter Brian Burns, and I'm here to tell you that my friend Vic Feazell has a new phone number. It's 1-877-948-4842. That spells with Vic, 877 with Vic. Now, we hope you're never in a car wreck, friend, but if you are, don't call for just any lawyer. Call for Vic Feazell at 877 with Vic.
With principal offices in Waco and Austin, Texas.